Welcome back to the basement build. Today we're going to walk through what I had to go through to figure out how to actually get this wiring done. So I did have an electrician booked, but ended up figuring out that, hey, maybe I could just try it myself. What I'm doing is I'm going to run all the wires required for the roughing. So the first step that I had to do was contact ESA in order to pull the permit. So the permit cost is going to be based on the number of devices or the number of circuits you're going to run. So I'm going to have a separate video on that. You can check the show notes and I'll be able to find the link for that for you. Now, after you pull the permit, you got to plan out how you're going to actually run the circuits and how you're going to run all your devices. So the first thing I had to do was walk through with my electrician to plan out where all the plugs need to be and where all the switches need to be. So walking through, I'm going to do the exact same, and I'm going to talk you through the concept behind it all based on what I know and based on what the ESA inspectors told me and based on what my electrician has told me. Okay, so it's kind of a mixed series of resources that I had to consult, and this is the outcome. So let's check it out. Continuing on the video about what the circuits are and how many outlets you can put in each circuit. So the code in Ontario states that you're allowed to have 80% of a breaker utilized. So if a breaker is a 15 amp breaker, that means your circuit is running on a 15 amp circuit. Now in that circuit, you're able to use up to 80% of the capacity. So in a 15 amp circuit, you'll be allowed to use up to 12. So what that means in terms of how many receptacles and devices you can have, you're allowed to have 1 amp for each. You're allowed to have 12 maximum receptacles on each 15 amp circuit. So when you're planning out how the wiring goes in your basement, you want to think, okay, how many receptacles, meaning how many plugs, how many lights can I link to one circuit? So in this case, each device counts as the 1 amp used. So in this room, we have 4 receptacles, 1 light, so that's 5 devices total. In the living area, there are 1, 2, 3 receptacles right there. So that's 8. In the hallway, there's 1 light source, so that's the 9th one. There's another plug down there, so that's 10. So that's 10 devices that I'm allowed to have on one circuit. If I want, I can try to link more items in there, or I can just save that room for if I want to plan a last minute receptacle or light somewhere. All right. With pot lights, it's different. So I'll do another video on installing that and running wires. But to give a quick recap, I'm sure you're wondering how on earth do some people run 100 pot lights? They must have so many circuits. That's incorrect, because these newer pot lights nowadays, they run off LED and they take up a lot less watts and a lot less amperage. So with that, if you have one single circuit and that circuit's only dedicated for lights, so no other receptacles can be involved. If it's only dedicated for lights, you can use a lot more than just 12 device, okay? You can actually use the calculation. So what I had to do was ask the inspector, hey, what are most pot lights actually used? So I ordered some pot lights, and pot lights usage is 9,000 watts per light source. So it's a calculation where you convert watts to amperage. And the result is you can have many, many, many more pot lights than the 12 amps that you're allowed to use. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start drilling all the holes on where the wiring is going to run first. Okay, so I'm going to do a time-lapse video of me drilling all the holes, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pull all the wires through. So some of the wires are going to come through the studs, some of the wires are going to come through the joist above me, and some of it's going to come along the central pillar here that we have. So I can run it along easier, there's less drilling that I need to do. So that's the plan. Let's see it in action. next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna mount this box for the light fixture. So this octagon shaped or hexagon shaped box, this is meant for the light fixtures. It already has the tabs on here, I don't know if you can see, where it shows you where to mount it to the wood. So I'm gonna mount it straight to the joist. This is enough gap here for the drywall to go. And then what I can do is then just screw it straight to the joist and then fish my wires through, and I'm all done. People tell me that you should mount these boxes in the middle, or these light fixtures in the middle of the room. So I measured the middle point, which would be 53 inches from that wall and 55 inches from that wall and 53 inches from this wall. So I've already marked it. All I'm gonna do is drill it in and I'm good to go. Okay, box is up. I always have trouble hanging these. So what I do is I hammer the screw in just by a little bit, maybe a quarter of an inch. Hammer it in so it stays still. Use an impact driver and just drive it right through. So now it's ready. I can punch the hole through here and then fish the wire through. So I'll show you how to do that. So this here is the end of the circuit. This is where the light fixture goes. It comes from that switch, which is on the left right here. And that switch is powered by the wire that goes into that plug, which then goes into that plug. So that would be the living room TV plug. This would be the bedroom plug, which is then wired, or actually, went the other way. That plug there is powered through that plug. So the wire loops around, then up into the wall, and it connects to the plug we just saw. The other line here connects to that plug right there, and then another plug there. So that's one whole circuit, which then continues on and powers all the plugs in the living room. So in total here, we have 3 plugs in the living room, 4 plugs in the bathroom, 4 plugs in the bedroom, 1 light fixture. So that's 8 devices right there. 8 devices, which is also linked to the plug that's in the hallway, which you see, which is right there, and the light fixture that's gonna be on the ceiling right there in the hallway. So in total, we have 10 light fixtures on the circuit. We're allowed to have 12, so that's all we need.